Hi everyone, today we are going to go over the lead-based paint disclosure. So you will use this lead-based paint disclosure when you list a home, and when you sell a home, you'll receive it under the supplements on the listing that you write. So for right now, we're going to talk about if you're the listing agent and you represent the seller. This form must be used as part of the listing paperwork. So as you know from passing your test, any home prior to 1978 will have most likely lead in it, okay? And they may or may not have reports. You can ask them. I've been doing this 19 years. I've never had anyone ever report, but you have to ask them, okay? After 1979 and on, they didn't put lead in paint anymore. But what you're gonna do is have the seller fill this out, that they have either, yes, they do know of presence of lead in their home, or no, they have no knowledge. 90% of the time, if not 99% of the time, this will say seller has no knowledge, seller has no reports. Obviously, they do have reports, they would check off yes, and you have to provide that to the buyer. So I'm assuming that my seller has no information or reports. So they have no knowledge, they have no reports. This is for the purchaser, this is for the buyer. So again, we just represent the seller. We're putting our hats are on the listing agent right now. And we go down, you as the listing agent must initial here. Agent has informed the seller of the seller's obligations under the 42 U.S.C. 4852 and is aware of his and her responsibility to ensure compliance. You, the listing agent, must sign it, and the seller and or Mr. and Mrs. Seller will sign it, or Mrs. and Mrs. whoever, okay? This is for the listing side. Again, we are gonna have yes or no. Most of the time, these will both be checked no. You, the listing agent, will initial, you will sign, and your sellers will sign. Whoever is your admin that uploads the supplements to our listing, they will make sure that this is all checked off, and you'll see sometimes the agent will forget to initial this. As a listing agent, you need to do this, okay? That is for if you represent the seller. Now, let's take off the seller's hat and put on your buyer's hat. If you represent the buyer, you will receive this in the MLS, make sure always property address at the top. You'll receive this in the MLS because it should be under supplements of the listing that you're gonna write the offer on. This will be filled out, and now you're gonna go to the purchaser's acknowledgement because you are the buying agent. You represent the buyers. They're going to initial that yes, they've received copies of the information above that says yes or no. The next D here says you received the copy of the Protect Your Lead in Your Home pamphlet that's in our buyer's packet, and you send that over to the buyers prior to writing an offer. And then you check that yes, they want to receive a 10-day opportunity to have a lead-based paint inspection. I personally have never had one because my home inspector will tell you what is the correct way to correct that. It's scraping the paint all the way down to the wood and then repainting, because paint nowadays has no lead. And then lastly, under if they receive the 10-day, or they will waive the opportunity, which most people check off, to assess the inspection. Okay, so you're gonna click off one of those two. Again, this is already signed by the listing agent, your buyer and or buyers will sign, and you sign as well on here. Okay, that is the buyer's side of the listing agreement, or excuse me, of the lead-based paint. So at the end, when it's fully executed, you will have two agents, you will have sellers, and you'll have buyers. As always, if you have any questions about the lead-based paint disclosure, please feel free to see me.